I mean, I remember one day we were in Benghazi and we were driving down the street and there were these windows, store windows, and they had mini skirts in them. And I said to our translator, who's a young 25-year-old doctor, I said, listen, I don't see any women on the street that, like, they're, you know, covered for the most part. Who's wearing the mini skirts? He said, oh, my sister, they all wear them. I said, where? At home. They all wear these things. And I mean, there was all the same kind of Western kind of styles and fashions and that sort of thing in the windows. It's just that they never stepped out into the street. And it didn't seem like, it was still very kind of male dominated. I mean, our translator was 25 years old. He had a young sister, 2 sisters at home, and it was his job to take care of the sisters. And when the revolution started, like all these young men, they went to, when they opened up the arms depot, they all went in and got themselves a gun, whether they knew how to use it or not, and 90% of them did. And he took home his AK-47 because he said it was his job to take care of his sisters. So it was still very much a, you know, they have to do this, they have to behave this way, that way. And, you know, in Libya anyway, I didn't see a lot, as kind of open and accepting as I found the people, and as surprisingly liberal I found, and tolerant. I didn't get the same kind of sense of women being involved as you did in Egypt.
Except for the New York Times front page picture of the woman in the chair with the AK-47 firing in the air.
Which is probably, staged.
I'm just wondering how restricted you felt in working overall, and this doesn't have to be specific to Egypt, it can be the other places you've connected places. Are you restricted by what's happening, by the circumstances, by government officials, by rebels, by your bosses? Like, let's talk about that a little bit, about all these different things that you have to navigate.
I think probably in all countries, this time, I think it's different in each scenario, but for this period, it was probably the greatest challenge was government. Again, I think I had it fairly easy in Yemen, definitely compared to the local journalists. And I think that's something that's going to come up again as we go further into this. But that is the most humbling experience when you're somewhere and you're with the local journalists, because you realize the protection that you have as a foreign journalist, not just because the money that you're able to put out for your security where you're there, but you also have a passport that gets you out of there when the spotlight's not on. And so I spent a lot of time with local journalists, and I remember this time at Star we're doing our own photography. I just had the pleasure going with a photographer. So it's very different when you're shooting as well. You have to be right in the middle of the action. So I was hanging out with the local photographers, and I remember apologizing to them, thank you, sorry, I'm the one running behind you, and sorry about this. And one day, one of them said to me, no, actually we like you along because they don't come after us the same way. And they were still coming after, one day they would still come after me and grab my cameras, but then they kind of back off because they know that trouble's going to come. When these photographers were alone, they get thrown into prison and worse. So again, I can only speak to Yemen, but there were government minders. One day at my hotel, someone from the government came and said you have to leave, 24 hours. And I said, okay, I'll report. Next day, went to the ministry and explained I was on a journalist visa and I didn't have to go. And we talked about it, but other journalists were being deported, and that's just a risk really there. They see the foreign media as the reason that the revolution is spreading, so they want to shut you